Thank you for joining us and welcome. I'm Bill Miller, CIO of NetApp. I'm very happy to be talking to you today with my industry colleague and good friend, Mary Gendron, CIO of Qualcomm. Prior to Qualcomm, Mary served as the CIO of both Aspira and Celestica. She also held VP positions at Motorola and the Nielsen Company earlier in her career. Welcome to CIO Central, Mary.
Thank you, Bill. Very excited to have our conversation.
Let me say before we get too deep in the conversation, I want to thank you and Qualcomm for being such fantastic customers of NetApp. We really appreciate your business.
Need you guys. You're absolutely essentially critical for us delivering on our commitments to our customers. Good partnership.
All right, Mary, you have a storied career, truly impressive. So can you talk a little bit about your path to the role of Chief Information Officer and how experiences on your journey have influenced you as a leader?
Well, I can tell you one thing, Bill. I didn't wake up saying, oh, I aspire to be a CIO. Reality speaking, as you know, CIO was really not even defined when I started out in the IT industry. And it is an interesting kind of start because I'm actually a mechanical engineer and I ended up in IT. Because I was working in an office in Bell Canada. We were installing these new devices called PCs to help digitize our business. And they were looking for guinea pigs. They were basically looking for volunteers to help with the implementation. Well, of course, my hand shot up right away and I said, me. And my boss was busy putting down my hand saying, you're new in the role. You're really busy learning, like you don't have time. And I'm like, no, I'll do this at night if it means getting rid of all this paper. So I was first to volunteer. So with that, embraced change and implementing change using information technology right from the start. I think we can really quickly pivot and talk about what does this mean for the future. Point is that, you don't try and define something, figure it all out in its definition and then walk down that path. Is that you have to have your eyes open to opportunity. And they're often ill-defined, especially at the early sought of the idea. And so, that would be one piece of advice if I were to change the conversation a bit and I said, what advice would you give? I would say, you know what? Keep your eyes open. Opportunities are there all the time. Opportunity is about listening and hearing voices you might not have heard, listening and hearing perspectives that you might not have heard, and considering what those voices are saying and then seeing if it makes its way into a decision, whether it's on the personal side or professional side, to be honest. That means that sometimes you got to be ready to say no. And sometimes that means that you might not really know if it is a truly opportunity that's going to present itself in a great positive outcome. It may in fact turn out to be a big mistake. And have to know at the right time when you've determined that that's a mistake, and then fail fast. Okay, you don't want to linger too long in that failure mode. So you want to be able to fail fast. And when you encounter obstacles along the way, then make the next decision. The best leaders absolutely hate indecision, right? Indecision is evil. Try not to be in that indecision period for too long. Your organizations need you to make decisions. And then once you make decisions, execute. You can always course correct. But you can't course correct indecision. So you want to get out of that period pretty fast.
You've been passionate about and recognized for your advocacy and leadership among women in technology. Okay. And I'd like to spend a little time maybe understanding your journey and then what your view is on what's been achieved so far in industry in inclusion and bringing women effectively into the influential part of our workforce and what still needs to be done today. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure, absolutely, Bill. Thank you for bringing that up because it's a passion that's very close to my heart. I think we spend, and we have, as a society and as an industry, as a business community, we spend a lot of time discussing why we are where we are. And I really don't want to focus on that. I really don't want to focus on, again, this is part where I go, yesterday, you know what? We are where we are because we are. Let's just face that. And we have to recognize that there's a lot more to do and there's a lot more that can be done. That said, and taking and pivoting and looking forward, it is all about inclusion and less about numbers, diversity, percentage, forced, you get what you measure and all that fun stuff that people say. I get it, but let's think a little bit broader than that. Let's just take it back to the essentials, which is the outcome, which is the inclusivity, is really what you're trying to drive. The issue is creating the fabric with the levels of different perspectives, experiences, cultures, backgrounds, such that you get the best products and services that you can absolutely develop for your customers. Because if you leave out inclusion in your enterprise fabric, you're leaving out a voice at the table that's helping define your products and services. So at the end of the day, I'm telling you, I've said this many, many times, inclusion, included, and that means women, right? That means women too. It's all about the money. I'm here to make a buck. I'm here to deliver great things for customers so they don't want to leave me. They want more and they can't get enough of me and they want more and more and more. Having said that, you have to create those environments that allows that inclusive voice into your enterprise. Now, I think that's our biggest challenge today. The only way to get inclusion in your company is to consciously create environments that operate well under constructive conflict. Now, what's constructive conflict? It means that Bill and I sometimes don't always agree. And you know what? That's okay. Yes, we want that. We don't want everybody just keeping nodding their heads because you know what? When everybody agrees, it's a very boring conversation. It doesn't really challenge anything. It doesn't add any value. It doesn't stretch our thinking. It doesn't contribute to further thinking. So you have to create an environment that expects a difference of opinions to occur. And now what do you do with that difference of opinions? Do you scold the person for, hey, you weren't very nice because you weren't nice, or you didn't align with the team, or no. You're always respectful. But do you allow for a difference of opinions such that something can be considered and possibly a new idea is born? And I think that's not really been easily adopted, especially for larger enterprise. Right? I think it's hard to do. So we have a lot more to do to drive inclusion. It was funny. Somebody was doing a workshop, and these gentlemen were on stage, and they were saying they were kind of very proud of what they'd done, and they said, we're holding roundtables with our women employees to find out what needs to be done for the women. Stop trying to figure out what we need and start doing something that's good for society, good for people. I'm just a person. I'm a human being. Just appreciate my difference of opinions, appreciate my different background, appreciate my voice, tolerance, listen, empathy, hear my voice, and then let's move forward. I don't want any special treatment. I don't need any special treatment because I know who I am and I know what I bring to the table. Just make sure I get invited to the table. That's our biggest blocker right now is getting a seat at the table. But we're working on it.
That's just a wonderful narrative. I appreciate you sharing that. And that's a great story in observing that, right? So people think they're trying to do the right thing, but they're really coming at it from a very wrong-headed direction, quite frankly. When you look into that camera, what do you want to tell those women in technologies that are working their way through their careers and looking at you and admiring you for what you've accomplished? What do you want to tell them today?
I think the biggest message, most important message is courage. You have to know who you are and believe in yourself, and then have the courage to speak up and speak out. When I have an opportunity to speak with women is like, don't try and figure out what you should be. Figure out who you are. Just be happy with who you are and where you are. But please don't use the excuse that the opportunity isn't there. Keep your eyes wide open. have courage, believe in your talent, and speak up and speak out. That's what I would do.
Let's talk about transformation, how opportunities present themselves and evolve. Because for the last 18 months, it's been pretty crazy. I mean, from really the beginning of the pandemic. And we've seen a lot of IT changes, cloud, other things in the last 18 months. But you've been in business long enough to see these changes over the last 18 months in the context of a much broader and more complicated period of time. What do you think of this transformation as kind of the next step in evolution of IT? And most importantly, where do you see it going?
Yeah. Well, someone who has always advocated change and helped with introducing change to enterprises, I looked at this past period that we've been in as a great opportunity. And actually it was a huge motivator for me. And it just made me excited. Why? Because I saw, I'll give you an example at Qualcomm. At Qualcomm, we had an on-premise email system. We were working on implementing a cloud embracing the Microsoft 365 platform. Now, it just so happened that we went live on that platform globally on the Saturday after the pandemic started. Well, on Monday, when people woke up, they were all working on the Microsoft 365 platform. So you asked me, what have I seen? The adoption of that platform was light speed faster than any other adoption I've seen or had the privilege of being part of. And that's what excited me. It was like, okay, no choice. You had to adopt or die. Adopt, keep productive, or become unproductive real fast. And what we were able to do is drive in that change across the Qualcomm organization globally in lightning speed. So that's an exciting part for me. And what we should be learning from that is, don't go backwards. No tree hugging here. Don't hope for the 18 months to go back to yesterday. That's not the role here. The role is stay focused on tomorrow and figure out what went well. How do we embrace that and make that more a part of the plan going forward?
Yeah, I love that. The no holding back, no resistance to making the change. I mean, I think we've seen this during this period of time. There was no way out of this but forward for most companies, and adopting tech, maybe moving more to cloud, becoming more embracing of cloud services like you were talking about. As a matter of fact, I read something the other day that said the transformation, the digital transformation that has occurred over the pandemic has been like a 3x acceleration based on certain measures over previous periods of time. One thing we all know as CIOs is the incredible value of strong technology partnerships, right? You can't do it alone. You're just not an island in this space. Everything's connected. You've got great suppliers, great partners, go-to-market partners, and sometimes it's even, with your customers in that space. So there's a lot of opportunity here. Talk to NetApp sales and marketing people who are listening to this. Mm-hmm. What are the most important attributes you would share with them for a valued supplier, and what that supplier, what we as NetApp, for example, can do to help IT leaders achieve their missions?
It's really important that the outcome of a NetApp sales guy or girl is the sale. That's the outcome everybody's aspiring to. But really to get the outcome that you're aspiring to, it means understanding, again, my company's perspective. What are we trying to solve for? And why is NetApp the right answer to solution my problem? You really don't want customers that come with the order list for you. But that's so far down the solutioning mindset. They've already figured out what they want. You really want to move up that chain and understand, what are they trying to solve for? Because it might turn out that there's more than one product in NetApp that can help. It might turn out to be a NetApp service. It might turn out to be something bigger and broader that you could ever envision. But really trying to get into the head of the customer. And I know that's hard because some customers, they're like, no, do your job. Your job is to fill this order. But it's all about, again, that relationship and that relationship management. And really, they have to know that you sincerely are interested in understanding their problem. The outcome is the sale. I get that. You sincerely are vested in understanding our space a little bit better and becoming that trusted player at the table that understands that problem space. And when that happens, that's when magic happens. That's when magic happens. And then the other thing that does is that problem, you know where your product's going. You know the future of your product roadmap. You know where your company's headed. So if you understand the problem a little bit better, then you might be solving a problem that they don't even know that they don't have to solve for. Like it gets complex after that, but I think it's really important if you could get into that headspace and create that relationship. Then you're having the right level of conversation that really creates this ecosystem between the supplier and the customer. And then value, right? Nothing gets done without value, right? So why are we doing it?
Yeah.
Right.
It's really a value approach, not a selling approach. It's a value creation approach for everybody involved. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
We're all about talent in the IT world. We're all kind of different talent, applications, infrastructure, security, networks, you name it. We're all about business process reengineering. We're about it. Hey, this era has been nothing short of amazing. Going into the pandemic, coming out of the pandemic, looking at the choices employees have and where they want to work and how they want to work in the future. What have you learned through this cycle about attracting talent, growing skills, and really keeping people motivated and engaged?
We've learned a lot, first of all. Again, I think going through a pandemic or going through what we've been through, if we're not learning, then we're dying. So we've got to be taking advantage of and learning and be open to learning. Our employee engagement has never been higher. Well, it's because inclusion has been an interesting outcome of remote work. Now, you might say, what? How does inclusion and remote work, how do you make those two connections? Well, overnight, we had 30,000 employees working remote. Through the cloud solution that we were using, what we quickly found out was that some people in our organization actually felt more included now that everybody was working remote. So it kind of level set the whole playing field. I laugh as a CIO, right? We've been trying to sell these solutions forever, right? All these video conferencing capabilities and sharing of data and documents and all this fun stuff. And really it took a pandemic to really put everybody in the deep end. Everybody had to adopt it. And interestingly, it kind of leveled the playing field. So now whether you were at headquarters or whether you were dialing in from across the world or across the country, it just didn't matter. We were all dialing in. And so there was less sidebars, right? All these sidebars that not everybody was inclusive of that conversation, or access to data or access to presentation material. No, everybody accessing it the same way, the same fashion, and aligning to the conversation at hand. So the inclusivity actually took an uptick. I think that's number one, and we don't want to let that go away. At Qualcomm, we're putting a big investment on creating that our meeting team room experience back in the office. So making sure that we're not losing that inclusion aspect. Then the other area, and I just pivot a little bit, is the whole, let's call it tolerance, or maybe it's awareness that when you're looking at me on the screen, I'm a complex individual. I have pets, I have kids, I have a husband, I have a life. And when life interferes, it gets in the way every once in a while, and your kid's screaming in the background or your dog's barking, we're a lot more tolerant of that. So people don't get all bent out of shape out of something that it really shouldn't get bent out of shape about. Is it really that important to what's been going on? No. I think tolerance and inclusion are two important aspects. And if you combine those two, you go, okay, what does this flexibility and employee engagement bring to the company? I'm telling you, it brings results. It brings better employees. It brings more invested employees. It's helped with our talent management and our talent strategies. And so we can't lose that element. Let's not unlearn something that actually worked and worked well.
I love the inclusion in this equalizer effect of everybody being, it's no longer, hey, we're not at corporate. It doesn't matter. Everybody's got an opportunity to participate in this. That's a really great observation. This has just been an awesome discussion today. I can't tell you how much I've enjoyed this. I want to make sure as we close this out, Mary, is there anything we really haven't covered so far? A couple things you might want to share with the viewership here or have them take away from the discussion that we haven't covered? Feel free.
I can't overemphasize the importance of inclusion, especially now in our society where we're at today, looking all around us. The businesses of tomorrow are going to be here starting today because of their ability to embrace and understand the inclusion aspect of their product and service. So when you leave inclusion at the door, you're leaving your company's future at the door. Just remember that. And that manifests itself in so many ways. Your employee, your strategy on how you recruit, to the definition of how you test your products, how you vet your services, how you understand your customer base. It's all inclusive. If you think about the really successful companies today, they are creating the future, right? They're not looking in the rearview mirror. They're giving us stuff that we didn't even know we needed. And I think that that's really important, is that, yeah, we can lean back on our history and really fall in love with a product in our history. And that gives us the permission to experiment for the future. But what we're all really here to do is figure out and define what's there to ensure going forward that we're most relevant with our products and our services with our customers. I think that's so important. And as I said, I think inclusion, call it what you want. Call it a employee strategy, call it a product strategy, call it a service strategy. That inclusion is broad. Think about it in that broad manner, or else you're leaving something at the table.
Well, I got to tell you, Mary Gendron, it is always a pleasure to talk with you. And I am very excited for you as you gear up, or maybe gear down, as the case may be, for you in the next chapter in your career and your life. And I look forward to hearing all about it. I'm sure your golf handicap's going to come way down while mine is not. I'm quite jealous about that. But I have to say, thank you so much for joining us today.
Wonderful. Bill's alluding to I announced, just so all the viewers know or the listeners know, I announced that I will be leaving Qualcomm. I'm retiring. This is going to be about a renewal of mind, body, and spirit. And who knows what's around the next corner. But that's the fun part, right? The fun part is discovering. So I'm in a continuous mode of discovery. So I love it. So thank you so much for inviting me. I love these kinds of conversations. So thank you for listening and be willing to listen to some of my stories. I really enjoyed my time here with you today, Bill. All the best to you and NetApp. Great supplier of Qualcomm.
This has been such a great discussion with Mary today that we're going to stop the interview here for today and bring you a second part with lots of additional great content and discussion material shortly. So stay tuned. Look forward to the second in this series of discussion topics with Mary Gendron, CIO of Qualcomm. From NetApp CIO Central, thanks again for tuning in, and remember to stay data-driven.